Hello and welcome to Ryno's Ravens review. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Big win, huge win, wonderful win by the Ravens over the Steelers. Really all despite Lamar Jackson to a certain extent. Lamar throws a pick, puts a ball on the ground. Usually not a recipe for success, but Derrick Henry got going early and therefore was able to continue going well into the later part of the game. Defense made several key stops. Let's see. The Ardarius Washington forced fumble of Russell Wilson, almost at the goal line. The pass breakup on the deep shot Russell Wilson took on fourth down by Hamilton. Again, it was fourth down. So while it's technically not a turnover, it's a turnover on downs. So to me, it's kind of a turnover, right? And the huge one, the pick six by Marlon Humphrey. Wow. Defense came to play and really needed it. Though I kind of expected it being at home, right? Really close game on the road in Pittsburgh. Not the same when it came back here to Baltimore. A few other key notes in this game. 2 penalties committed by the Baltimore Ravens. What? Only 2? Holy shit. And you know what? 2 false starts. That was all it was. False start was early in the second quarter and early in the third quarter. And that was it. What else am I talking about here? Something I mentioned in the preview show about Desmond King returning punts. Not the greatest game. Fumbled it early in the game. Luckily able to fall on it for good field position too. And the last punt of the game muffed it. Luckily, Raven... who was it? I think it was Welch or something. I'll point the name out if I remember when I get to the NFL.com page. I'm not even sure what his position is, but good awareness to get back there for that. You're supposed to be blocking on a punt return, but good awareness to jump on that football. So, yeah, not a great, ball security game by the Ravens, really. Way too many times putting on the ground. But Tylan Wallace, again, why I was talking about King, Tylan Wallace, who had kind of fell out of favor with the return game during a punt by Jordan Stout, was able to... What's the word? I mean, what did I write? I think I wrote down something that I thought a tip. Called it a tip out of the end zone. Yeah, like a tip pass or something, right? Volleyball or something. Ball did kind of land about where Stout wanted it. Maybe a little too far, but inside the 10-yard line. You had to get Tylan Wallace to dive into the end zone, keeping himself off the ground, and use both hands to bat the ball back out about the 3-yard line. So pinning Pittsburgh deep. It's a huge play. So could we see changes next game? Well, apparently they can't get a punt returner to hold on to the football. But it's nice that Tylan Wallace kinda not only to say making up for his miscues, but keeping with it. Not feeling sorry for himself and getting down on himself. Going out there and making plays. Alright, Ravens defense steps up and forces a few turnovers of their own to make up for Raven ball handlers playing fast and loose with the football. Because, putting it on the ground and giving it up, well, lucky not giving it up. Lucky, really. Oh, and the final thing I'll mention, Justin Tucker finally makes a 50-yard field goal. Feel like it's been forever. And yeah, whether it is the issue that has led to all the misses or not, but the snap, bad snap again on that 50-yard field goal. 50, it's like 52 or 53. Ball way out in front of Jordan Stout. Way out in front. Now, I was watching, trying to pay close attention to the snap, and not only the snap itself, but where Jordan Stout has one of his hands on the ground to kind of mark where he wants the spot of the ball to be. Really, I guess it's more for Tucker and the long snapper to have some kind of aiming spot. And while, yes, he did have to reach way out in front of him to get it, he was able to bring the ball back very close to that spot that he was marking there. So, instead of catching it way out in front like he has done on some of these misses and not being able to get it back to the spot that he wanted to, really it was on the left hash mark and the real, let's call it the innermost part of the hash mark. In the past, and some of these misses, he hasn't been able to quite get it back to that spot that he was looking for, and he was leading the ball a little bit to try to compensate it. So, what's the problem? Is it more on Stout? Is it more on the long snapper? I don't know if a lot of us football fans or watchers or covers of the game really pay that much attention to the kicking game. But we might start now, right? I mean, how accurate are long snappers? How accurate can you expect them to be? Tough to say. But I gotta say, I mean, he was off by a lot, right? He's off by a lot. I don't know if you can continue to do that. You can't continue to get away with that. Of course, it does help to be on the hash mark and have your spot. And maybe that's the trick there. You're essentially on that inside corner of the hash mark and you're making that your mark. Now you have visual reference when you catch the ball and you look down to place it. If you're in the middle of a hash mark and that's where you want Tucker wants his aiming spot. That's the point that he's looking to kick the ball from can make it harder to get there, right? I mean, it's a big white block. If you go in the middle of it, harder to find that spot. If you go to the corner, like, hey, this corner right here, that's a spot. Is that an adjustment they've made? Possible. Of course, at the same time, my question would be, why the hell weren't you doing that to begin with? Of course it can't be easy to find a spot for the holder. I mean, he's looking down at it, but he's got to look up and catch the football. And then look back down again and find that spot. Now, how do you do that? If you don't have a mark on the field of some kind, how do you do that? Hopefully, Tucker and this new Wolfpack have righted this. Now, I did watch the other field goal Tucker made, and it was like a 17-yard field goal. It was, Derrick Henry, late in the game, Derrick Henry trying to get that last first down to probably seal it, really. Landed on the 4.5-yard line instead of the 4-yard line. And, instead of going for it, Hallbrawl says, Tucker and the long snapper and Stout, they've been having trouble. So, kick the field goal. Saw the snap on that one. That one was more straight right to Stout. So, don't know. But enough about kicking. So you can see them on BaltimoreRavens.com. Let's get to the Game Center part here. Talk about some numbers. Oh, I meant to put the completion percentage in the calculator here, and I hadn't done it yet. But let's do 15 divide 23. What do we get? 65%. That's I don't know. I think that's a little on the low side, especially for 2024 in the National Football League. You would like that to be closer to more above 70% than, right at 65%. I mean, technically that is less than 2/3. It's not a great passing day. It's really not. 65% completion percentage for 207 yards. Not great. 3 touchdowns are nice, but there's a reason they were able to get the yards there. And again, interception here. Derrick Henry, 24 rushes, which is on the high side for him, which is fine. It was working. You were playing the Steelers, your big division rival. You want to win a division. Getting that time of the year where it's a little bit better for that kind of a running back to be running and smashing into people, because it hurts a little more when it's cold. 162 yards. That's big on the ground. Hill, only 2 rush attempts. You see he got 30 yards, which is a good chunk. Sadly, he did have to leave the game with a concussion. I've not seen a update on his status, but more than likely he will not be available for a Christmas Day game because just not enough time, really. Jackson, a few rushing yards. Rasheen Ali getting a carry here. Does kind of suck to not have Justice Hill in the game because you can't take some of the load off of Derrick Henry. I don't know how much Harbaugh and Bunkin trust Rasheen Ali. He's young. Though maybe, let's say, in this game coming up, if Hill can't go, that means Keaton Mitchell. Keaton Mitchell's supposedly ready to go. Now, hasn't been getting... I mean, in this game here, Rasheen Ali got the jersey and not Keaton Mitchell. Not 100% sure what's up with that, but Keaton Mitchell probably playing in the next game. Another big numbers here. Only 5 catches for Flowers, but 100 yards. Yeah, that's nice. Andrews with a few catches, likely a few catches. Henry with a few more catches than usual. Because, no Justice Hill for a majority of the game. Let's go to NFL.com. I like their stats more. That's right, I said who was going to be. I said, it says Welch here. Not sure who that even is. Let's see what Google has to say. No. Oh. This says he's a linebacker, Christian Welch. That's what this says. Oh, here we go. Link to BaltimoreRavens.com. Christian Welch, linebacker, number 54. He was the one that saved Desmond King's job, most likely, assuming it was even salvageable after that game. Not a great performance. You do not want to be putting the ball on the ground that many times. It's not good. Flowers has 5 catches on 8 targets. Andrews has 4 catches and a touchdown, another touchdown, 6 targets. Isaiah Likely 3 for 3. Henry 2 for 2. Bateman only 1 catch. Did have 3 targets, but couldn't reel those other 2 in. Disappointing here. You see, let's talk about the fumbles here. 2 by King, 1 by Jackson. Somehow they didn't lose them. Luck, it really luck, man. Hamilton here, he forced a fumble, but the guy fell right on it. Or Darius Washington, that was a big fumble against Russell Wilson. Huge fumble. because it looked like they were going in. Pittsburgh was going in for a score. So to turn that over like that, yeah. We'll talk about the defense here. Talking about these new players, like say Hamilton or Ardarius Washington. Two players part of that big change in the Ravens secondary, moving Hamilton from, let's say, the more box-type player to back more of a more traditional strong safety. Strong safeties do play kind of close to the line, but they also do play back in a more safety role. Changing that and inserting Ardarius Washington into the starting free safety spot over Marcus Williams and his high cap hit that not getting our money's worth this year. Very disappointing, but the guy's playing better. You got to put him in there. And what that has really allowed to do. Let's continue with what I have here on the notes, and I'll get to more of that. Yeah, I'm okay. I'll just read my notes here, because coining a phrase here that I kind of want to catch on, because it makes sense. Right. For the forced fumble, the pick six by Marlon Humphrey was huge, because Hamilton's moving back kind of forces... Maybe not even forces, because Humphrey does have that ability to play more physically, at least more physically than traditionally a corner would play. It's more of I want to call it a nickel jack role. It's more of a jack of all trades kind of thing. You think, nickel, he's a nickel corner. He's in there to cover a wide receiver. Because, the offense is putting multiple wide receivers out there. It's not exactly the case anymore. At least not with the way the Ravens run their defense. Jack of all trades. He can cover some receivers. He can play in the box. He can come up and hit running backs, which we saw on a outside run by, I can't remember who it was, but Humphrey initiated a contact at the line of scrimmage way outside, close to the sideline, and Roquan over there to finish him off. Humphrey blitzing several times. So, jack of all trades. He's playing in the box. Like a jack in a box. Nickel jack. Right? Sounds like a thing. And moving Hamilton back. Strong safety that... It was a very nice play. And it was a very nice play in that Hamilton kept his eyes on the football the whole time. He didn't come down with the football. He had a real shot to, but at the same time, I think he was smart enough to know that he wanted to go up for this football, and not an attempt to catch the football, but to make it look like he's trying to catch the football, but to really just smash into the wide receiver so the wide receiver doesn't catch it. Because it was fourth down. You didn't want to intercept it on the 3-yard line. You wanted it back at the line of scrimmage. So it's not only that it's working so well because Hamilton has the speed and he has the length and he has the height to defend some of these passes, but it really seems to be some of the intelligence, some of the football IQ that Hamilton has. Now, yes, okay, we don't get that extra guy in the box. Well, we probably can get another guy to do that. Probably. Hopefully. We'll see. It's been working out real nicely so far. Talk about some of the pressure. A little bit more pressure this game. Russell Wilson and his veteran IQ as a quarterback definitely threw the ball away a lot. I didn't really like it because some of those throws, it's like, how is that not grounding? That football, it's so high and it's so far out of bounds. How can you argue that that is near a receiver? But whatever. And he was clearly being chased. So in order to not take a sack, he just chucks the ball way out of bounds. I think they might have landed in his stance. Okay. And at the same time, you see people like Ajabo and Owe giving chase. Owe fought, I think he fell down on like some of those times where he's chasing Russell Wilson. I think he fell down 2 or 3 times. Not even because he was like pushed. It's just changing direction. He just falls down. Jabo did that once, and he's falling down, flailing around on the ground. It's like, wow, man, why can we not get a good pass rusher in the draft? Look, you can go out and you can sign free agents off the street. I mean, really, Van Noy was off the street last year. Week 3, 4? Nobody else wanted him before then, which is odd because he's playing fantastically here. And it's the old guys. Like, we signed this old guy off the street last year, and he's the one leading on all the sacks. Your young guys like Owe and Ajabo can't do anything. Disappointing Matabike here. Kind of trips up Wilson a bit, and Van Noy finished him off there for one of the sacks. They paired up on one of those sacks, so half a sack each. Van Noy also with a solo sack there too. Again, how is it Van Noy that's doing all this, but Ajabo and Owe can't? It's real disappointing that those draft picks have not worked out. Basically, at all. Owe flashes every now and again. And I feel like Ajabo flashes, not to say every now and again, but it's like, what's even less than every now and again? Because he does flash, it's like, oh, man, like 1 out of 10 games Ajabo plays, he has a good game. Owe, it's more like 3 out of 10 games. Like, how can they not do better? How can the Ravens not get a quality pass rusher in a draft? Okay, they're hitting more often than not nowadays in defensive backs. Wiggins looks like he's going to be okay. He's young. He needs to learn the game more, but he looks fine. Talking about Marlon Humphrey and Kyle Hamilton, both draft picks. Though I think Humphrey was more of a Ozzie Newsome and Hamilton a DaCosta pick. Big Michael Pierce, the first sack of the evening. It was a good thing because he kind of wrapped Wilson up from the side and just kind of fell down. It's a good thing he didn't land on top of him. I mean, one, you get the penalty, and I don't know, man. Michael Pierce is big as shit. We might not have heard from Russell Wilson ever after that. So it's a good thing Michael Pierce didn't land on him. Not even sure how he had the speed to get in there. But when you want that big burst of speed and you're a big fat guy and you don't get sacks often and you want to get in there, you'll get in there, I guess, right? All right. I still got a few more things to say about the offense. Maybe a few. We'll see. We're getting close to getting out of here. Again, Henry, 189 total yards, adding up the receiving yards and the rushing yards. Feel like several of these other games, especially the last game because it was against the Giants, so they didn't, let's say you only have so many bullets here with Derrick Henry, and it may be a lot of bullets, but you don't want to waste them against the Giants, right? Feel like he hasn't had a big game in a while. Well, big game this day. Yeah, no touchdowns, but didn't really need them. And key thing was no fumbles, because remember the last game against Pittsburgh, Derrick Henry fumbled early. Flowers, another 100-yard game. He's up over 100, not 100. Another 100-yard game by Flowers, yes, and he's up over 1,000 for this year. Jackson finally seems like over Lamar Jackson's career, some of these games against Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's like COVID time and people and Lamar Jackson especially can't play because of that, or it's at the end of the year and the Ravens have a high record, so they're like, oh, well, Lamar's just not going to play. Lamar injured 1 year. So he's only played the Pittsburgh Steelers, but like, what, 6 times now? He's like 2-4. That's it. And he was 1-4. Thought I heard the record's right. Hopefully I am. I'm just kind of going with it. But finally, for what seems like ever, Lamar Jackson actually gets another win against the Steelers. And it came in a game where he didn't really have that much of an effect on the outcome. It was a lot of Derrick Henry having an effect, and a lot of Kyle Hamilton and Marlon Humphrey and Ardarius Washington. Changes in the secondary that really affected the outcome of this game. Oh, on the interception, kind of a funny note to end with. The Lamar Jackson interception. It was kind of a, we'll say, Rashad Bateman. Actually, that was one of the targets to Rashad Bateman and ended up not catching. It looked like a more of a drag route. He was on the left side of the formation, coming across to the right side of the formation. Lamar Jackson waiting for him, and he's waiting for him, and then all of a sudden, Bateman just kind of stopped. But he stopped. And it was weird, because I was trying to, watching the replay here on my TV, trying to pause and see what was happening or when some of these things were happening. Because Bateman stops in his route instead of continuing to run. And then here's Lamar rearing back to throw, and that's like when Bateman stops. Because Lamar wants to throw back and then release. That is exactly when Rashad Bateman stopped. So Lamar's leading him like 3-4 yards in front of him, and Bateman had stopped. They did show a replay of Todd Monken, offensive coordinator, and his reaction to, because he's watching from up in the booth, watching his reaction to this interception. You can clearly see his words, through reading lips, is what's he doing? What's he doing? So, yeah, somebody's probably in trouble soon. I'm going to take a wild guess and say Bateman, because I don't know why you would have him stop right there. That just doesn't seem to make sense to me. Definitely makes more sense to keep running. Stopping doesn't really help you. Especially because if you look at some of the angles, and if you think about Pittsburgh, they usually do a 5-man front. Some other teams do like a 4-man front. So the front's a little longer. The angle there, it's Jackson to Bateman. Definitely an edge part where TJ Watt was in the way. So why would you stop? Why would you stop at a point where TJ Watt or whoever the end man is on the line of scrimmage there for the Steelers, it was TJ Watt in this case, but why would you stop where that person is in between you and Lamar Jackson? Yeah. But, okay. Kind of, maybe, let's say, a little bit of a regression of Rashad Bateman. Not good football IQ there. You don't stop there with a guy like that in between you and Lamar Jackson. It's just not going to work. And yes, T.J. Watt did jump. So that maybe is why the pass was a little further out in front of Bateman. And he just wasn't able to make a play on it. Had T.J. Watt not been there and not jumped, maybe. Maybe it's a different result, but maybe don't stop there. Duh. What? Who would even draw a play up like that? It just sounds like a terrible play design if that's what it was. All right, let's get out of here. I had to have that moment where I'm criticizing a lot. I had to. That's just me. But to a certain extent, I think you kind of need that, because then otherwise, what do you fix? What do you improve? How do you get better? Nobody's even calling out what's wrong. Which is my mindset there, I guess. All right, logistical stuff. Let's get out of here. Next game, Wednesday. Yes, that's right. The next game the Baltimore Ravens are playing will be Wednesday, along with the Houston Texans, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Did kind of a swap thing. I'm still not for this whole thing and making guys play this quickly again, but at least the 4 teams that they have playing Christmas Day played the Saturday before. Nobody else is getting an unfair advantage here, and they gave them, or trying to give them, a little bit of extra time. I kind of would have liked, maybe they moved it up to Friday. Maybe, I don't know. Tough. I just think Saturday to Wednesday is just too far. But Kansas City Chiefs yesterday played the Houston Texans. Baltimore Ravens played the Steelers. Now they're going to switch. So yes, this coming Wednesday, Christmas Day, Baltimore Ravens going to the Houston Texans. This game is at 4:30. So while that will do it for this edition of Ryno's Ravens Review, please stay tuned for the next edition of Ryno's Ravens Preview. And I'll preview the game between the Houston Texans and the Baltimore Ravens. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I am the Angry Ryno. Fly Ravens, fly.